You know that. Well, good.
I'm curious about that because it's not me shilling, but I don't think
the areas of the law we're examining are improper. These are all Title 17A of the criminal improper influence, extortion, misuse of state assets, criminal oppression. And now we've seen the county attorney use the oppression statute against the Waterville High School principal. And I'm not going to get into the merits of that case, but clearly we've asked her to examine the criminal oppression statute in regards to Governor LePage's behavior. She has had a direct request to do that. We have also asked the Attorney General on 3 separate occasions to appoint a special prosecutor. You know,
it's been a responsibility.
The district attorney said she took it under advisement. The Attorney General has...
We're likely going to be talking with her next week. She's out of town. Maeghan Maloney, the DA. I actually called back with her yesterday.
The Attorney General has not been forthcoming with any response. So that leaves us with
saying that you believe the governor used his power, and do you believe that should move ahead for impeachment of the legislature?
It definitely should move ahead. Whether that constitutes an impeachable offense, that's something we have no guidance for other than precedents at other levels. That's something for the House to determine. They need to consider the facts that will be sent out to the legislature.
So you want them to take it up as an
I think it should be considered. There is certainly, it's very clear admission by the governor that he threatened funding with Will-Hinckley. That is a private institution, a higher decision that was not his to make. It was not a matter of anyone responsible to him acting in that regard. That constitutes an abuse of power.
Are you pretty confident that this will move forward?
I know that it's going to be sent, the information, the report will be sent, its correspondence to both bodies, and it's really up to the House members next. From what I've heard from people, I suspect it will.
If it does move forward and if it went to the Senate for a trial, knowing what you know now, would you vote to impeach?
It's too early for me to second guess where people will fall on this, and certainly the case has not been made by the House yet. We don't have an impeachment vote by the House, so it would be far too early to make any determination of how people will rule on the case.
But it sounds like your mind is made up.
My mind's made up that there was a wrongdoing that occurred. Whether that constitutes an impeachable offense, that's another matter. The House needs to make that case.
How do you respond to folks who say we spend months and hours and lots of state dollars looking into this to affirm something that the governor had already admitted? Was this a waste of time?
Well, no, it wasn't a waste of time, because what we need is not simply a person saying, yeah, I did it. If you're going to bring a case, you're going to make arguments in the House for on what grounds and by what precedent this constitutes an impeachable offense. Can't simply go back to
You don't want to. I basically wanted to ask you about a statement you made in your, I'm going to call it your opening, but in your statement on the issues of this. It sounded like you're pretty close to believing that the governor overstepped his bounds and should be punished.
Well,
have you made that clear?
I think that the facts are pretty clear on what happened here now. But I think it's for others to draw conclusions about what, if anything, ought to happen. For us, our job was just to get all those facts on the table. I certainly said what I think those facts are. And I think that sets a poor precedent going forward for a couple of reasons. One is every private entity now have to worry that their hiring decisions are going to be questioned if they receive some government funding. And secondly, the legislators now have to be concerned that votes they take or speeches they make might result in some impact on their own employment. I think both of those are unfortunate precedents, and we have to worry that if this becomes the new normal, that's the way we do business in Maine. That's not a good thing.
For the purpose.
So you think it should be imported into the House?
That is up to the House to decide. I think our work is done.
Senator, do you think the minority vote this morning is simply an attempt by that group to simply change the discussion, change the focus and directive to what this committee was essentially begun several months ago?
Oh, I don't know. You'll have to ask them. I think the report was a fair and balanced report. I don't think there was much dispute, at least in my mind, about what happened here. And again, people can draw their own conclusions. There are some who think that what the governor did is perfectly appropriate, given his own thinking about building the Hinckley School. There are those who disagree with that. I happen to be among those. But there are the basic facts I don't think are much in dispute.
And is there much fallout that will be coming from, I guess, concerns that this report was not conducted in a fair manner? Obviously, the director took some exception to that.
Well, I've been on government oversight for 4 years now. Every single report has been well produced and has been fair and objective, including this one, in my opinion.
Senator, what about the fact that, I mean, there's strong arming all the time, Representative Paul brought it up, and there's instances of other lawmakers withholding funding from an organization they think is not no law. I mean, why is this different?
I've heard a lot of talk about how this is done all the time. I haven't heard a single example myself, and in my 5 years here, this is not how we govern in the state of Maine, nor should it be.
I think the Republicans have brought up, the state Republican Party brought up an instance of Eves and Alvon taking money from Baxter Academy in 2013.
I'm unaware of that. I just don't know.
Do you think it rises in the level of impeachment offense?
That is for members of the House of Representatives to decide, and I don't think it would be helpful for me as a senator.
Come on,
Well, I think now that
You were specifically concerned about the statement in this report about the
governor did abuse his power, and we are pursuing several options to take action.
From this point on,
one of which
what point
has
is
the
that?
resolutions drafted.
And how does that affect what may happen if this goes to the House?
Flat out impeachment on this.
I'm not sure it's going to have a big impact on anything, but we were voting today whether to endorse the report in its entirety or not. That was a portion of the report that was written prior to anybody
Colleagues, but one thing is clear that we are determined to hold the governor accountable for his behavior in this matter and possibly in other matters.
Do you feel like there's a lot of opposition, at least some of the report by Republicans on the Government Oversight Committee? Are you kind of facing an uphill battle with Republicans in the two houses?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be up to the members of the House. We're doing our
in terms of the large
representatives to bring options before the House to take up.
Does that then explain or excuse?
I feel I have an obligation to my constituents
any actions
to
the
hold the
governor?
governor accountable.
I don't think Bill Brown's actions have any reflection on the governor's actions. They're not part of it. The governor, as I've stated in their report, has been a stalwart proponent of this school. He has fought hard against opposition to support the school, make sure the school is in operation. He's the one who moved forward even more funding for legislature's account in the 125th to make sure that the students would be able to stay there who needed to stay there. These are at-risk kids. And now, when opponents of that school are being put forth, he's concerned for the presidency. He's concerned about the future of the school. Who wouldn't be? If you've got someone who has fought you on that extra funding, then he has concerns.
Deb, in terms of the minority report and the position taken on fairness, is that an attempt to sort of change the focus of what this committee was originally tasked with, or is this simply something that has evolved that has sort of, I guess, overshadowed the original mission of the committee?
Well, this is not an attempt to discredit the report report or Director Ashcroft or her staff at all. This is information that came to us in the last meeting that was not available when the report was written. And while Director Ashcroft today explained that during the process of investigation, having seen all the documents, it wasn't until the very last week that we realized the influence of Mr. Brown in Speaker Eve's application process and what he's done, that makes maybe it's not quite fair. Who knows? But we wanted that noted. This is no reflection against Director Ashcroft and her staff. I think for the most part they've done an absolutely wonderful job on this, but that part was written prior to having this information. And we just wanted that clarified.
Has this type of stuff happened before, as far as the political arm twisting or somebody withdrawing discretionary funding from an organization they no longer have confidence in?
I would just like to reference back to Aaron Chadbourne from the governor's office that he gave to us at our last meeting. There was a time when Mayor Brennan was trying to remove statutory funds, not discretionary funds, statutory funds from the Baxter School. And I believe Speaker Eves was applauding that and actually encouraging that in an op-ed. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Now that it's happening to me, I'm going to call foul. This stuff does happen all the time. It happens behind closed doors, as Senator Burns said. There's strong-arming that goes on from leaderships to members of their caucus. Politics is dirty. It's absolutely dirty. What Senator Burns says, we have a governor now who, while you may take exception to his comments, and there are many times that I take exceptions to his comments as well, but, you know, at least he has the guts to go out there and say it in front while other people hide behind closed doors and make these comments.
So this whole thing is just hardball politics in Augusta?
Part of it is, yes.
Representative, as we move into next month, this committee will meet again to decide on the GOC's recommendation. I guess what's the potential, I think, for this whole issue to sort of color and get our session off to a kind of a bad start?
Well, I think this is where you misunderstand our role here. As we stated earlier today, this is an information brief. We are not going to to vote on a recommendation on this issue. Our charge here is to gather information, not recommend an action for the legislature like we would on many other reports.
But your findings will serve, I guess, as a platform for discussion in the House, correct?
I'm sure it will, but we will not be making any direct recommendations from this committee.
Do you feel like the governor overstepped his bounds, though, in what he did?
I don't, you know, that's hard to say. I don't think, maybe some of the use of words was inappropriate toward the end, but, you know, when you look at him, at first he's talking about his support, okay? He's not going to support, he's upset, he can't support a school that's going to hire someone who was opposed to other schools.
Several options that we provide his office. We're having options drafted that aren't limited to impeachment, such as possibly opening up a House committee and other matters that leads to power of the governor. But we are looking at all the options and we are determined to hold the governor accountable for his behavior. We don't obligation.
So what are the options you're looking at?
We could have a House order for impeachment on this matter. We also could have a House order that would open up a House committee, investigatory committee, to look at a whole range of other things that have happened over the last 5 years that we think could qualify as abuse of power, and we've got a list of what those options are, but like forcing out John Fitzsimmons from the community college system by threatening to platform the system, we think that's something that should be looked at. The Acadian Congress issue with Jason Caron, we think that should be looked at. There's a whole host of things.
Interference with the unemployment board, interference with the Maine Human Rights Commission, the setting up of a secret commission, investigating the Maine Human Rights Commission, clearly a violation of the Freedom of Access law, the abuse of power around the land for Maine fugitive bonds. However,
This sounds like you want to get the governor on something.
We are holding the governor accountable for his abuse of power because that's the oath we took. We took an oath of office to uphold the laws of the state of Maine. And there's a clear pattern now that the governor has abused his authority. And the committee has made findings. It's clear from what Senator Katz said that it's up to us to pursue a remedy. We have asked the Attorney General and the Kennebec County District Attorney to get involved. about the Kennebec County District Attorney. She also covers Somerset County. She used a criminal oppression statute a week and a half ago against the Waterville High School principal. And I called her and I said, this statute, how can you not apply it to the governor's conduct? And I've asked her to examine that, and she's taken that under advisement. But if we can't get our chief law enforcement officers in the state of Maine to step up, then as members of the House, under our authority of the Constitution, impeachment is the sole authority of the House. And we are coming forward with a probably a limited resolution regarding impeachment on the Will-Hinckley episode, and we are examining the other abuses as well.
So is this priority number one after January 6th in terms of moving this impeachment question?
I wouldn't call it priority number one. I just say that it's, let's put it this way, we didn't set this agenda. This is, the governor has performed inappropriate conduct and is now apparently crossed the law, and we feel it needs to be examined. So does the public.
And I would just respond, AJ, that it's a top priority for us, the three members of the House that asked for this investigation, to hold the governor accountable. So we're drafting, like I said, a range of options to present to our colleagues and see what they're interested in moving forward on. We can't speak to which option has more or less votes to pass. I'm not going to speak to what votes there might be for one issue or another, but we're going to bring these options to our colleagues in the House and see what there is support for pursuing and move forward in the most likely way that we can to hold the governor accountable for his behavior. And so there's a lot of different options out there, and we're not going to go out there and count votes at this point. We're doing our due diligence to draft these House resolutions, these options to bring forward to our colleagues so they can make a decision on how they would like to hold the governor accountable. We are determined to hold the governor accountable one way or another.
And we're not going to get into, personally, I'm not going to get into the politics of revolving counting votes. I'm going to do what Abraham Lincoln used to do. I'm going to do what I feel is ethically correct, and I'm going to trust the people to figure out we did the right thing. As for the conduct of other legislators, each one of them can vote their own conscience, and that's all I have to say regarding this.
Thank you. So it's up to House leadership whether to take this up?
No,
it's up to the House.
Any member of the House of Representatives can bring a resolution forward. There's nothing leadership can do about it.
It doesn't have to go through the speaker.
No, it doesn't have to be cleared by legislative council.
In this case,
that's why I was asking.
He's going to obviously have to recuse himself. And but no, under the Constitution, any member of the Maine House of Representatives can bring forth an impeachment resolution, and we are drafting them as we speak.
And there are three of you? Who's the
well, originally there were three, Representative Warren, Chipman, and myself, but it's a larger group now. And we will be holding a press briefing in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Once we get the resolutions finalized, you'll be given copies and give a briefing on it.
Let us know.
And in the House, it only takes a majority vote to pass a House order, so it's really not a situation where you do 2/3 or anything like that. So.
You say there's going to be a menu of options. Are all of these options going to involve impeachment?
Well, no. There was a possibility that the district attorney of Kennebec and Somerset County could get involved. I mean, she brought criminal oppression charges against the Waterville High School principal, so I asked her to examine the oppression.
Using a public corruption statute.
Yeah. I mean, hello.
Or a section.
So at that point, are they looking at criminal charges?
She's 18 years old.
Representative Evangelos, at that point, is the district attorney looking at criminal charges?
I can't. You'll have to ask her that question. Okay. I asked her to examine if she can use the oppression statute against a public official, a high school principal. She certainly should be examining the same statute regarding the governor's conduct. I'll leave it to you to figure out which one was more serious. But here we're talking about the leveraging of $500,000 in state assets for the purpose of extortion. I think that the district attorney should do her job.
Thank you.
But we can expect that this menu of options, when they do come out, will involve impeachment.
One of them would be. Yeah, one of them would be, and there'd be another one that would open up a House investigation.
Questions, different kinds of standards, standard is impeachment is a civil proceeding.
So even the movement of the question is likely to perhaps inspire some divisions within the body. I guess what's the potential for that sort of, set tone, if you will, for the session?
Well, that of course is a possibility, and would be perceived by those who favor it as a partisan decision.
but the constituents
But there'll be
I
at least a Republican side.
feel that
Yeah, we're gonna
an
have
obligation of the legislature to take a stand as far as peace deployment, and to do otherwise, it is an application of that. Obviously, where we land is unknown at this point, but to do nothing, I think, sends a terrible message that this kind of behavior should just be swept under the rug.
Thanks very much.